Fuel What Matters podcast focuses on what fuels you. From products to entrepreneurship to living a healthy lifestyle, we have you covered.
What's happening right now?
All right, everyone, welcome to Team X&D's podcast. I'm Jason, one of the owners.
With my hands.
I have the pleasure of interviewing good friend Josh Bridges. We actually met, back in 2000. You're such a child. What year was that? Late 2012?
It was 12, yeah.
Yeah. So I was starting my career as a sports agent, working with Camilo Blanc-Bazinet, and Andrew and I would come down to Invictus, and like, who's this guy, Josh Bridges? I remember watching him on a video doing Fran in like 2 minutes or whatever time it was. And then, we finally started in a working relationship, sitting down with, remember with CJ?
Yeah.
Went to that coffee shop, not knowing he was like an ex-attorney, right?
Right.
He just grilled me for like an hour, and I'm like,
I do remember that. Gosh,
remember
that
that?
seems so long ago. Yeah, wow.
I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing here.
I didn't realize this was real deal.
But thanks for joining me.
Hey,
appreciate
thanks for
it.
having me.
Yeah, Josh actually drove out to AZ to do an appearance here at Xendurance, do a team workout here in about an hour. He just crushed me in a workout. What was the workout we just did?
It was nasty. It was a team workout, and so we had each of us to accumulate 300 calories on an assault bike. One person's on the bike. One person's doing 2 rounds of 10 cleaning jerks at 135, 8 burpee box get-overs. Another person is doing 10 snatches at 115 and 8 burpee box get-overs. And you had to finish your part on those 2 to move forward, and then you moved the snatch workout, moved into the assault bike. And then that basically, however long the person was on the snatch, it determined how long you were on the bike. And so it got bad.
Which we thought we were going to get some rest.
Yeah, we got no rest.
It never equaled any rest.
The only time I was resting is when I was resting on the floor during my burpees.
Yeah, those burpees actually hurt. So obviously, people know you now as an ex-Navy SEAL, and you probably have told this story numerous times, but give us a Reader Digest version of how you got into becoming a Navy SEAL. And first of all, before you start, thank you for your service.
Hey.
We appreciate that. I appreciate that. So.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Tell the story a bunch of times, but I don't mind telling it. It's always an interesting story. So I, dropped out of college I went to college for a year, wrestling college, dropped out, decided I wanted to go into the business world. Did telemarketing for a year and a half with SBC, which is the phone company, AT&T now, and decided that was horrible. I thought I wanted to be a loan officer. I did the loan officer gig for 3 years. In that time, I met a guy named Mike Singer. He's still, I don't, to be honest, I don't know what he's doing now, but he might still be in the Navy. But he's like, hey, I'm going to go be a Navy SEAL. Excuse me. And CrossFit is what these guys use to get in shape. And so, you want to do it with me? And I said, sure. So we started doing CrossFit. That was like January 2005. As I kind of started to get back in shape again, I was like, well, being a Navy SEAL, that sounds kind of cool. Something I always thought about growing up as a child. I used to watch movies and be like, oh, me being the naive person with the military in landlocked Missouri, I knew about Marines and I knew about Army Rangers. Other than that, I didn't really know too much about the military. I didn't come from a military family. Yeah. And so I started doing my research on the Navy SEALs and reading how, this is the hardest training in the world. So I was like, I felt like, hey, here it is. Let's give it a shot. So, enlisted in March of 2007. So, yeah.
Now, you're a wrestler, though, growing up, right? So that training's obviously really hard.
Yeah. I like to attribute my mentality really to my wrestling background in life. I didn't do it like as a young child. I started in 8th grade, 8th grade through high school, and then obviously a little bit into college. And so, but yeah, like I had a great wrestling coach in high school, and he was played a huge impact on my life and my role, how I have started to like use that mentality, that wrestling mentality in the rest of my life. So,
right. So when you went to Bud's training, was it what you expected? When you knew it was going to be the hardest training after reading about it?
Yeah.
Was it what you expected, or was it?
Bud's training wasn't. It was tough. It was really, really hard. It was mentally hard. It was physically challenging. I felt very prepared for it. That was like
because of CrossFit.
Because of CrossFit, and I physically I was in the best shape I felt I'd been in my life because of CrossFit, and mentally I just was in a place where I was like, I had tasted the real world. Then I knew, or the business world. I'm sorry, not the real world, the business world, and knowing that like that wasn't what I wanted to do with my life, because every day, pulled open the drawer and looked at the gun and wanted to put it in my mouth, and I was like, I don't want to sit in a cubicle for the rest of my life, and so.
Like there's no plan B.
There was no plan B. Exactly. There was nothing else. I didn't have a backup plan when I went into the buds. And so the training was, I did as much research as I could back then. It's not as easily accessible as it is these days, but there was definitely a fair amount of information you could find. They had the Discovery Channel documentary already out. I think it's 2, 3, 4, I believe. And then Dick Couch had some good books that you could read.
If you don't mind me asking, what was the hardest part about buds?
I think it's different for everyone. For me personally, the cold water was really hard. And that's something that I've grown to like still utilize to these days, where like I get into my cold tub every morning because I know that I hate it. I don't want to get into cold water. And so, but for me, I hated the cold water.
Was that the ocean?
Yeah, the ocean was cold, and
probably at night too.
Yeah, and we'd have to lay. We did this thing called surf torture, where you would lay in it, and for like, I don't know, it felt like hours. It wasn't hours, but you laid in there for a while, and I would find the 2 biggest guys, and I would literally get next to them and be like, "Hold me close,
keep me warm,
keep me warm, boys, keep me warm."
Yeah.
The physical aspect of it, I don't think it was the most. I've always said I think that college wrestling was the most physically demanding thing I've ever done. I think the duration of buds was really hard. It was 6 months. You don't get as much sleep as you want. Your nutrition isn't as healthy. But it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So
and I would look at it as probably, like sports being at the top level, it's extremely. To be really good, you got to have that mental part, right? So I would expect at buds, that's probably something that's you got to be sharp or mentally sharp.
You have to have. I feel like you have to have tools in your toolbox for your mentality, right? You have to go in there knowing like they're not going to make me quit. And we had great mentors too while we were in it. Like they brought guys in, older SEALs like chiefs and master chiefs, and that would mentor us, and they would bring us in and. We'd sit there, and a lot of guys probably just zoned out, and for some reason I could pay attention. And these guys gave us some great bits of knowledge and tips, right, to use. And like they're like, hey, they can't stop time. Whatever it is that they're doing is going to come to an end, like whether you're there or not. So like it's your decision if you want to be there or not. And so, those mentors were phenomenal, and they really helped. And I think the wrestling background too helped as well, where like in wrestling. It's always, you're always told be the hardest worker in the room, last guy in the room, never complain. And I think that like just led over toward the military. Like I stayed away from negative people because you're going to find negative people in everything that we do.
Yeah.
But the mentality side of it is huge. And I think that's what actually gets most people kicked out.
How many years did you serve?
8.5.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in that time frame, you found CrossFit. That was obviously your training got you into the SEAL. Well, it didn't get you into the SEALs, but you used that into Navy SEAL training. But you also became a professional in CrossFit now. And obviously one of the biggest names in CrossFit. Where are you at today in your career? You're a 6-time Games athlete. Where are you at now with, your age and injuries and, people want to know where Josh Bridges is at.
Yeah. So this year's been, gosh, I'm going to sneeze.
It's okay.
I don't know. My allergies are kicking in. 36. I'll be 37 this year in July. Last year, I had 2 surgeries. I had a high tibia osteotomy on my left knee to realign the knee. And then I had an elbow, I guess you can call it like a debris, where they cleaned out a lot of bone spurs in my elbow. Rehabbing, trying to make a comeback of some sort. We'll see. At this point in the game, I don't really know where I'm at. I'm just trying to like navigate this. I know I'm like towards the back end of my career as a individual, not in like an age age group qualifier or whatever, just in the individual side. But, I still think I have something left in the tank, and I still have drive and I still have motivation. And so for me, I'm still going to drive the bus until the wheels fall off. And if I qualify, great. If I don't, all right, then I'll start to move on and figure out what's next.
Yeah.
Obviously, the coffee company and stuff like that. So
people always ask me, like, how long is Josh going to go for? Like, I'm like, don't count Josh out ever, literally till I kill him. You can't compete anymore.
right. You can't come back.
Because he will mentally push himself to that dark place to be there. I know you will. So speaking of that, just doing our workout today, you and I are close in age. I'm 37. And I find myself on the floor most workouts where you're fine just walking around. How much harder do you feel like your training has to be, or I guess intensity at your age, to be able to keep up with, the younger guys now in CrossFit?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's definitely, I'm finding a fine line of like, the volume used to be crazy, right? The volume used to be insanely high. And I just know that my body can't handle the volume that it used to, especially at the intensity levels. So something has to give, right? And right now I'm pulling back on the volume instead of the intensity. And I think that that's a more important role. Sometimes more isn't better.
Right.
And so, it's I'm still motivated. It's, now I got different factors that are motivating me instead of maybe just like my own, my own goals I want to accomplish. It's also now like, hey, I want to show my kids that, hey, you can still accomplish things that people don't think that you can, right? I love being told you can't do something, or why is this, people are like, oh, why aren't you going masters? Why aren't you going masters? Well, because I think I can still qualify individual, right? And it's my personal goal. It's nothing to do with I don't think that, has nothing to do with the masters athletes. I think that what those athletes do is amazing, insane, and it's crazy. And they have their own goals, and I have my own goals. And so, it's just different. The volume, it's just a different type of training for me. And I've had to really start to understand and read my own body and see what I'm capable of and adjust my training to that, right?
Yeah.
I definitely push sometimes too hard and I have to back off, and I'm okay with it now. Where back in the day, I would have a bad day and I'd be like, it's not a big deal. I just need to go, I need to push harder tomorrow. Or now I'm like, wait, I had a bad day. It's probably because something's hurting and I shouldn't be doing it.
Probably because I'm old.
So I'm okay with having to take a rest day, and where it wasn't like that before.
Yeah. Well, I love that answer about age, because to me, it's just a number. Although, I come from the sport of baseball, where if you're 37, you're old. Like you're like ancient. 50 in baseball years, right? So it's kind of like what you said. People expect you to be a masters athlete because your age, but it's like, what does age have to do with it? If I feel like I could be an individual, I'm going to be an individual. So I love that answer.
Why are you going to let someone else's limitations that they've put on themselves be your limitations? Yeah. I think that's what's so wrong with a lot of people, where like they allow other people to dictate what they think is capable for them. And like for me, it's like, I've been told my whole life, you're not going to do these things. So it's like, oh, tell me I won't do it, then I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned, and Josh is a father too, Jack and Knox.
Heck yeah.
How much do you love being a dad?
It's the best. It's the best title I've ever been given.
Yeah. And I can only imagine them having a dad like you, looking up, ex-Navy SEAL, professional CrossFit athlete, Nike athlete. Like, do they even realize how cool you are? Or do they look at you like...
They do not look at me like... They don't think I'm cool. They
even when they get all those Nike shoes, they're
right, exactly, right. When that stops coming, then maybe they're like, whoa, Dad was really cool back then. Now he's like... I told him that too. I'm like, hey, at some point, this is going to stop, and you're going to have to get your own shoes. So, no, it's awesome though. So
what are their ages for people that are listening?
Yeah, so Jack is 9, and my younger son Knox is 7, and baseball players, wrestlers. Jack actually just started doing rugby camp, which is really cool. So we have we have a rugby team in San Diego, and they started doing camps, and so I think rugby starts at 8 is the youngest age, and so Jack said he wanted to give it a shot. So
I'm sure it's canceled though.
Yeah. Right now it's canceled. Everything's canceled. Everything.
So I'm a father, obviously. What's the different personality traits that they hold?
It's night and day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy when you look at two human beings that you created with another human being, the same human being,
right?
And they couldn't be polar opposites. You know, you're like, my oldest son is awesome in his own way. You know, he has the biggest heart. He's very kind. He's the most. I tell Knox, the little brother, I'm like, man, you are so lucky because I've never met an older brother like you have a great older brother, because most older brothers would kick your ass for the stuff that you do to him, you know, like, and he's really, really good to you. You should be thankful because my older brother would have beat the crap out of me for the stuff you do. And the younger one he's the same way, but he's a little more stubborn. But he's very self-motivated. He actually wants to do everything himself. He wants to learn how to he learned to tie his shoes before my older son did.
Did he really?
It's crazy, man. And
it's crazy how different they are.
It's crazy. Yeah. The older one just
what's the age gap again? Sorry.
2 years. 2 years. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So and then the older one, he just he's a little bit more like, and I think it's the way he was 2 years by himself, so everything was done for him, and now he's like he makes I have to still be like, Jack, get your socks. Don't forget your homework. Right. Oh, did you get your lunch? I have to tell him everything. Where Knox is like I'm like, Knox, did you, Dad? I did. Of course I did.
He's like, Dad, don't forget your keys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Right.
That's like my 3-year-old. She's on top of everything.
Crazy.
We were talking about this earlier in the gym on like parenting styles, which I mean that's a broad question too. And you said you feel like it changes all the time. But so where are you at with that right now in terms of your parenting style?
Yeah, it's hard. It's like it's this constant like adjustments with your kids, and like trying to be hands off and allowing your kids to fail. I think that's a lot of that's something like it's hard to do, right? Watch your kids fail at something and not like want to jump in and step in and fix it and correct it. Where I think failing at things in life can really teach people stuff. And so even 9 and 7-year-olds, and so I'm really trying to like be a little more hands off with certain things and letting them fail and like not being that overbearing parent that's,
especially in sports.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Man. I don't want to be that dad, but I can be that dad easily. It's like, like on them all the time because you can, that you can fix something and it could be really easily fixed, but like them learning on their own, it's that, that old phase, like give a guy a fish and feed him for a day, teach a guy to fish, feed him for a lifetime. It's just really hard. It's a hard thing. And I'm like really having playing that role of like backing off and allowing them to be their own people and to fail and to figure it out on their own sometimes. And then knowing when to step in and, help out.
Did you have a inspiration or someone you looked up to when you were growing up?
In what way, I guess?
I don't know. I mean, anything. Could have been in wrestling, could have been like, who would you call when you needed a life answer or something,
Yeah. I had a lot of friends that I would look up to and call. And, my mom, I looked up to my mom. Like my mom struggled a lot with.
By the way, his mom is awesome. If you guys haven't met her, shout out.
Yeah. Sharon.
She is awesome.
Yeah. She's great. She, like what she went through and, she had two kids at the age of 19. I was like, it's like mind blowing to me, like, and boys, and like we were tough. Me and my brother were tough. And so, like seeing that, like that, I always looked up to that, like how, she just got the job done. And I feel like I attribute my mentality a lot to like just getting the job done a lot, to my mom, because, she did what she had to do to get the job done. It wasn't a perfect life and we weren't spoiled, and I'm thankful for, the way I grew up.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Love that. We got to talk about that funny story though when you went back home and you put a treadmill downstairs.
Gosh, yeah. I got
probably one of the funniest things I remember. You sent me a picture. So was it a true form?
It was a true form, yeah. And so like it didn't fit going into the basement. My mom just doesn't care. She's like, she's very okay with me. Basically, I'm like, Mom, we got to take this door frame off. And like, I'm literally like sledging the door frame off the door to get this true form in the basement. My mom's just like, yeah, okay, no big deal. Like where I feel like most moms or dads would be like, what are you doing? You're not going to do that.
So if you guys listening, he goes back home to visit his mom and she has a basement. Josh works out down there and gets equipment.
Yeah.
People sending him equipment, but they sent a true form to the house and it wouldn't fit. So he was trying to get it through the doorway and he had to literally take the doorway out. He sent me pictures and I was like, your mom is awesome for letting you do that.
Dude,
My mom would kill me.
Right. Literally ripped the door frame off the door.
Did you fix it or did you have someone fix it?
Yeah, she had someone fix it. I paid him though.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about coffee because I know that's one of your loves these days.
Yeah.
And I know there's a cool story on how you actually found coffee.
Yeah.
So tell people listening how you got into coffee.
Yeah, so I was on my second deployment. I didn't start really drinking coffee until the military. And then my second deployment, I started really getting into coffee. And I was online, I was really roughing it overseas in my trailer to myself with my Wi-Fi in my room. And I'm online like looking for coffee to order to ship over there. And I remember being like, okay, I don't know what it said green next to the coffee that I wanted to buy. And I didn't know what that meant, but it was the cheapest. And I was like, okay, I'll get a bunch of that. That looks good. It'll still probably be pretty good. And I get it and I open it up and I'm like, this is actually green beans. These are unroasted coffee beans. And so I had literally like $200 worth of coffee beans overseas and no coffee to drink. So I'm like, well, what can I do? I'll buy a coffee roaster. And so I had a coffee roaster, an air roaster sent over to Iraq. And I'm literally roasting coffee in my trailer in Iraq. So that's literally where my passion for it began.
When it's like 150 degrees,
yeah,
drinking hot coffee.
It'd be like 140 degrees outside. It'd be like, we were getting ready to like, go on some sort of patrol or something. And I'm like drinking hot coffee next to our Humvees. And it's like, just people are looking at me like I'm insane, but I love hot coffee.
I learned that lesson one time when I was with Josh and ordered a cold brew, and he's like, "Nah, we don't drink cold brew.
We don't drink.
We drink hot coffee.
Yeah, we drink hot coffee."
It's funny.
Yeah.
So you launched the company Good Dudes.
Yeah.
Where did the name Good Dudes come from?
Good Dudes is just like, it's just something that like in the military we say like when you're around good people, like, oh, that dude's a good dude, you know, and it was a kind of the kiss of death. The good dude means a lot of things. It means like a guy you'd go to war with, a guy you go to battle with. And the kiss of death's like, oh, he's a nice guy. Like nice guy means like he is just a nice guy, but I wouldn't want to go to war with him.
Nice guys finish last.
Yeah, right, exactly. So being a good dude is, just something that we said in the military a lot. And then me, Rich, and Dan were one day sitting in Rich's dad's barn and coming up with like this idea of like we could go and do these like seminar or training camps, I guess you could call them, and we call it Good Dudes training camps. And we started brainstorming on what else we could do. And I was like, well, a coffee thing is something I always wanted to do. And so that's literally where the birth of Good Dudes Coffee came from.
So how many different types of coffee do you have out right now?
So right now we have 4. We have all single origin coffees. We have one from Panama, we have a Peruvian and a Colombian and a Guatemalan.
What's your favorite?
Right now mine is the Panama, which is the Reagan coffee.
So
and
the Reagan, there's a Lincoln, there's a Washington.
Yeah, Reagan, Lincoln, Washington, and Roosevelt. And Samson.
Yeah.
And Samson, the Samson story is actually one of the coolest stories. And Cooper is the one who came up with it and found it. And so it's named after Deborah Samson, and she was actually in the the Revolutionary War, and she disguised herself as a man so that she could fight for us. And it's a really cool story. And so we named, the Samson is named after Deborah Samson. And her story is really cool.
That's awesome. So where can the people listening find Good Dudes Coffee?
So yeah, gooddudescoffee.com. Is where you can get it. We, that's really the only place right now other than Rogue. Rogue sells it as well. So if you're in the Columbus area, you can actually go to Rogue and get it.
Awesome. Now right now you were prepping for a sanctional, which got postponed.
Yeah.
And we obviously don't know with unforeseen circumstances with what's going on in the world today.
Right.
But with your training, obviously diet is very important. And me knowing working with you for years now, you've tried different things. Where are you at with your diet today? What does that look like?
So right now, I've backed off the fasting. I was doing fasting for about a year, intermittent fasting, I guess. And so right now I'm just kind of back to where I'm eating clean and trying to get the calories in that I need. I feel a lot better when when I started adding back in breakfast, and I felt like I was getting my calories in, I wasn't getting as angry. I wasn't getting as worried about when I was going to eat and how much I was going to eat. So, excuse me.
Good.
So yeah, I'm, back to kind of like what I was doing in 17 and 18, where I just really cleaned out my diet, kind of staying away from dairy and gluten, and just eating a lot of calories, eating more calories than not, because I'm an undereater. I don't eat enough, and I don't sleep well when I don't eat, and so
Right. What would a typical day of eating look like?
So I'll typically wake up. I'll have like 4 eggs, a bowl of oatmeal, some fruit, with a coffee, and then lunch is going to be some sort of lean meat with a spinach salad and a sweet potato, and then dinner typically is going to look about the same.
Yeah.
Lean meat, sweet potato, and some veggies.
When you say undereat, like, do you know what like calorie that you need? Is it based on how you train, or is it just like a daily intake that you?
Yeah, it's kind of based on how I train, how I've been training. In 17 and 18, where my volume was really high, higher than it is now, I guess, I just ate a lot. And then now I'm kind of having to really like realize, okay, I'm not training just quite as much, so I'm probably not eating as many calories. So kind of based on feel.
Now, I mean, I was a former athlete myself, and not realizing how supplementation really benefits us, especially as athletes, especially you, like the stress you put your body on. You've been with Xendurance for, 7 years now.
Yeah. What
are some of your favorite products, and when do you take them?
Yeah, Xendurance is something I wouldn't recommend for anybody going without. So I've been doing Xendurance since 12, so 8 years. And Creatine JB, phenomenal. I mean, when you guys wanted to do that product, I was so stoked, and it's such a great creatine, and like it's a good quality creatine, and it tastes amazing.
Tastes good. When do you take the creatine?
So I take the creatine typically at night. Sometimes I take it after my workouts, but a lot of times I take it at night because I'll just forget to take it.
Do you just take it once a day?
I typically only take it once a day. I take a scoop and a half.
Got it.
Every day. And then I'm taking the protein. I love the protein. I think it tastes amazing. The chocolate and the vanilla both are great. Sometimes I'll do a scoop of each, vanilla and chocolate.
In the same one?
Yeah, the same one, yeah.
I have not heard that yet.
Really?
No.
Oh, it's good.
I got to try that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I love the vanilla with the Fuel 5 after
Yeah.
post. The carbs and the protein together.
Right. Yeah. The Fuel 5 is a great product. It tastes good too. I take the Fuel 5 a lot, especially when I'm traveling. It's just an easy, quick way, and I know it's reliable. Right. It's always there. The Hydro is really good. I like the purple flavor.
We're bringing back the lemon lime too.
Yeah, lemon lime was good.
It's coming.
Yeah. It's just a delicious tasting beverage.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when you're competing, does any of that change for you? Like the way you supplement and how you eat? Maybe more calories?
I typically just try to get more calories a little bit, and then it's more of a timing piece, I feel like, when I'm actually competing. It's like, when do you get the calories in, and when can I just take a protein shake instead of actually a full meal?
Right. And how about the coffee? Like, because I remember you changed things up a couple times, but I remember you saying like you'd only drink one really good cup of coffee in the morning. Mm-hmm. I drink 2 myself sometimes a day, but where are you at with like how many cups?
So coffee, it's so now I'm on a cup in the morning and then espresso about at noon.
And then you cut it off after that?
And then I cut it off, yeah. Like I really don't like to drink coffee after noon because it definitely affects my sleep.
Yeah.
And sleep is just huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know, being a professional athlete and just knowing like how detrimental it is when you can't sleep, and the research that's coming out on, how important sleep is and everything for everything, for longevity, for everything, is huge. And so I really I was struggling with sleep in like 16 and 17. And so when I made that adjustment, it was big for me. And then eating enough.
Was that the fix? So you weren't eating enough?
Yeah, eating enough and too much caffeine.
So how do you? I mean, a lot of people track their sleep. I did it once with the Whoop.
Yeah.
I know there's different devices out there, but I'm seeing like other products that can tell you that you're getting too much blue light. Maybe you shouldn't eat like 2 hours before bed.
Yeah.
Do you use anything to track your sleep?
I use the Oura Ring. Is the one that I've found to be the most. I use the Whoop for a little bit,
Is that a metal ring or is it?
It's I think it's titanium.
Titanium.
Yeah, and so you can't really work out with it. It's not like the Whoop where it has the tracking for like your workouts, but it's really just based on sleep. And but man, it tells you body temperature, it tells you respiration rate, it tells you like what kind of sleep you're getting, how long you're getting sleep for, and exactly and really what it is, it's just like giving you data, right? So you can realize what you did that day and how you slept, right? And so when you get that data, then you can make adjustments, right? Oh, okay, I didn't sleep that good. Why? Oh, okay, I had a couple of drinks. Maybe I had like 2 beers that night or something. And what time did I have the beers? Or exactly, was I on my phone too late? Did I stress out all day yesterday? So it's really interesting. It's a really cool tool to have and utilize. And because sleep it's just drastic.
Totally. Shifting gears here, I know you grew up wrestling. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport's baseball.
Is it?
Oh yeah, I've always been a baseball guy.
You're a Cubs fan, right?
All right, I'm out of here. Well, see you later. No, I hate the Cubs with all my heart. I am a Cardinals fan. I grew up just like baseball is just the sport I love the most. It's just a great game, and I could, if I could go back, like baseball was one thing. I stopped playing baseball in high school because my brother quit, and I thought, I want to be like my brother, so I'll quit baseball too. And way to go! Like I wish if I could go back, that'd be something I would change for sure.
Would you?
Yeah.
I think what you did was pretty cool, though.
I do too. Yeah. I'm not one of the guys where it's like, I have all these regrets. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Like I made that decision at that time, and I ended up where I ended up, and so. But yeah, I love baseball. I think baseball's it's a phenomenal sport, and I just there's just so many aspects to it.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about it.
Favorite position on the field?
Gosh, it'd either be catcher or short.
Catcher's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's a cool position.
It is, and shortstop's always fun. Like people think that baseball is like slow and boring. It truly is from the stands.
Yeah.
But when you're at the highest level, like it's fast. Like you always have to be thinking what the next play is.
Exactly. Right. And that's what I'm trying to like put that into my 9-year-old. I'm like, listen, man, like you're always thinking about that. All baseball is a situational sport. Totally. I didn't play it at a high level, right? I played it at a very low level, but like I understood that, and I think that's what made me like a decent baseball player is I understood that they're like, I'm always thinking about what's next. And that's the same thing as like, it kind of actually translated into the military too, right? Like always planning ahead, right? And then if you're planned ahead, if you already have these contingency plans, you know what's going to happen. Like there's no, when it actually happens, it's like breathing.
Totally. No, you're right. And that's great advice for anyone, just for life perspective, like to be proactive with whatever you're doing or try to think ahead is great advice. Speaking of that, you have a website that offers physical training, mental training.
Right.
You're obviously wanting to help, new military, police and fire.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone that's newly wanting to go into the military?
Yeah, I think, if you can gain as much knowledge on whatever it is that you're about to do, on either the physical demands, the mental demands, what the life is going to be like, that's huge, right? That was exactly when I decided I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, that was all in, right? I put all my chips in. I was like, all right, I'm going to do my research. What do I need to be good at? Yeah. How do I need to train? What do I need to eat? How do I need to like figure out my life, to prioritize what I need to prioritize to where I go into it at the right time. And I just, I was very meticulous when I joined the military, like on what I wanted to do and how I needed to be physically prepared. And so for anybody that's looking to do that, like that, just there's so much knowledge out there now. Yeah. There's so like that, and that's why I did that website, right? Is because it took a long time to like find all those pieces. Mm-hmm. Now I'm putting all those pieces and I'm putting them together, and here they are, right? And now here they are for you, and I'm gonna hand them to you. And so. I think it's cool. I think it's cool to give back to the communities that have given me so much.
Totally. So anyone that's listening that is possibly looking in the military or even just want mental advice, it's josh-bridges.com. And there's a mental program. There's physical training on there. And you can also reach out, I think, at the info, right?
Yep.
But Josh will always be there to help and answer.
Yeah.
I had a question come in from a fan, and it was if money didn't matter, like essentially CrossFit's over and you're retired, what would you do with your life?
So CrossFit's over.
CrossFit's over, money's not an issue. What would you go do?
Oh, I don't know. That's a great question. I love what I'm doing. I love my life right now. I don't know how much it would change, to be honest. Maybe actually open up a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, you got to tell them that you're trying to see every baseball stadium. You
Yeah,
gotta finish that.
I'm like trying to go see every baseball stadium with my kids, and we're 9 stadiums deep, so that's gonna be fun. We always try to plan the trip. We're deciding right now. Hopefully, if all goes well, the baseball is still on, and we can actually make this happen. So
yeah, that just happened yesterday. So it's postponed for 2 weeks of spring training, which will then postpone opening day for 2 weeks.
Right.
So let's hope everything gets back on track.
Yeah.
But Josh, hey, thanks for being here with me today. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Always
yeah.
good seeing you, and appreciate your support here at Xendurance. Love you, man.
Yeah, love you too, brother. It's great. Thanks for having me on.
You got it.